All right, let's do this thing. Hopefully you can't hear the sound of the city outside. I wish I could keep it quiet. Not much I can do about it. The Christmas tree is gone. That's good. It's March, took us long enough. Got a new light, very nice. Okay, social media. You use it, I use it, we all use it. Is it a means of entertainment? Is it an educational device? Is it a soul-smothering drug that steals our free time and prevents us from being productive? Like anything, it's complicated. It is all of these things and more at the same time. So, social media isn't one thing. It isn't exclusively good. It isn't exclusively bad. And the implication of this point is that social media is whatever we make it. So the purpose of today's video is this. I want to help you help yourself. I want to tell you what I tell my undergraduate students at Johns Hopkins University, where I teach one reading and writing intensive undergraduate course per semester. So social media isn't going away anytime soon, and it isn't going away because despite all of the potential harm it might cause, it also does a lot of good. And I hope that by the end of this video, you'll feel like you've learned something, because again, that's really what I'm trying to do here. I want to help you actualize your full potential and achieve your goals. Trying to help you figure out how to use social media in a way that can be more productive. I think it's a worthwhile goal because again, I think it just makes you, incrementally better. And that's all we can really ask for is small improvements each day. So that's what we're focusing on here. So if you found this video, you probably use social media. And if you use social media, odds are you sink at least an hour or two, maybe more, into a couple different apps every day. I think the average is like 4 to 6 hours per day spread across platforms like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Netflix, Instagram, TikTok, Hulu, whatever. All of this is to say that the time adds up. Lowballing it at 2 hours per day translates to more than 700 hours per year. And if you're closer to the average, at that point, we're talking about thousands of hours, just an insane amount of time. And because of that, I think it stands to reason that spending a little bit of time to help us optimize our usage of social media could go a very, very long way as far as helping us learn more and helping us improve ourselves is concerned. So the stakes are high. Now let's dive in. Odds are anyone who uses or has ever used social media will tell you that it has its downsides, but I'm interested in two downsides in particular that I feel like don't get enough attention when this conversation is had. The first is the problem of disconnected information as it contributes to informational overload. And what I mean by disconnected information is this: don't confuse reading through your Twitter feed or your Facebook feed with reading a book. Now, maybe that seems obvious, but I mean it seriously, because even though we're still reading, the organizing logic behind your Twitter feed or your Facebook feed, whatever, is not the same as a book's. And that becomes a problem when we talk about memory, when we talk about the retention of different ideas. When the information we're coming across is disconnected, meaning from a combination of dozens or even hundreds of sources, as it might be on Twitter or Facebook for this example, a lot of information is going to be lost simply because we can't contextualize it within some larger pattern structure. And if you're anything like me, you use social media, be they websites or apps like Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, whatever else, you use social media as an educational tool, which is to say that it isn't exclusively a means of entertainment for you. And if you're trying to use social media to learn, disconnected information undermines our improvements because it's incredibly difficult for the information we come across to be contextualized into a consciously accessible network when, the structure that kind of brings the information to us is so fragmented. Which brings me to the second major downside social media has to offer us: the inconvenience of storing and consequently connecting bits of information which we deem valuable. Meaning maybe the most fundamental concern is how can we remember even a fraction of what we give our time to every day? So really, the two big problems are tightly connected, and I guess rightly so. The information we come across isn't necessarily connected, which makes a bigger difference than we might initially think. But okay, what can be done about that? For starters, we have to figure out how, despite its fragmentary nature, We can organize information that interests us. And this brings me back to the focus of today's video. How can we improve the way we use social media? So here's my answer to that question. A system, but not just any system, no. My answer is this: we can improve how we use social media by creating and employing a system for recording, or maybe put even more simply and perhaps less glamorously, by developing a writing habit. This is as on brand for the channel as anything I've ever said before. Maybe it's boring. Hopefully, me talking about writing doesn't make you click off the channel. Okay, now look. I know writing isn't the most exciting thing in the world. I know you were probably hoping that I had some fantastic idea that you'd never thought of, something that would change everything and something that was easy and fun and fast. Well, I'm sorry, but this is the best answer that I've got. Writing, developing a writing system, a writing habit. This is what I've got. This is what the thousands of hours I've spent trying to become a better writer, and all of the time, the years that I've spent teaching at Hopkins, this is kind of what I think. I think writing's a great tool. I think writing is a great tool for assisting and aiding our memory. So here's how I think we can improve the way we use social media. For starters, we need to understand that social media is a tool. Sure, it is also a form of entertainment, but it's significantly more than that. Once we've come to understand that it's a tool, we can begin to implement a system that is likely to improve our use of that tool. So, first things first, understand that social media can work for us or against us. It can reward us for our time, or it can suck a few hours away from us each and every day for as long as we're using the apps. And once we understand that, what comes next is orienting ourselves around a goal. For example, I'm into storytelling right now. I'm also kind of into the stock market. Storytelling is my passion. It's how I hope to be able to support myself. And the stock market is kind of more of a hobby, or just a side hustle, or whatever. Both are things I want to be better at, and it's for that reason that if I were to hand my phone over to you and allow you to go through my apps, you'd see timelines that are relatively focused. There are storytelling accounts, meaning accounts focusing on writing or storytelling or famous literary quotes, and then there are financial accounts. So my Twitter feed, my YouTube timeline, I don't even know what it's called. They're both kind of split 50-50 as far as the information that's coming in, but they are kind of organized around something singular, and that's intentional. And it's intentional because I want to remember the information that I come across, or at least the most interesting information I come across. And the reason I'm talking about this is for this reason. Whatever your niche is, whatever you're interested in, you can curate your social media accounts across any and all platforms virtually to deliver you certain kinds of information as opposed to others. And this is the difference between, trying to focus your timeline on a niche you're interested in and doing it as a means of, or using it for a tool of merely entertainment. And that's important because, again, it's a way that we can focus our timeline. It's a way we can organize the timeline so that the intrinsic fragmentary nature is undercut. And that is important because organizing information leads to learning. And that's what we're here for. At least that's what I'm here for. I'm trying to make myself better, and this is my way of trying to virtually help make you better. But now here's where things get a little bit grimy. That writing habit I mentioned earlier, it's time to implement it. And here's what that means. Write two different, for lack of a better word, categories of information. For the first, write down the most interesting bits of information you come across, be they famous quotes, interesting ideas, or something in between. They can be tweets you see, or Facebook posts, or YouTube videos, kind of general concepts. And I recommend for this using something like a commonplace book. And if you don't know what a commonplace book is, I've got about half a dozen videos that focus on commonplace books, which might be helpful for you. And you can find the link to the playlist in the description down below. This is my quick plug, but I'm done now, so we're gonna keep moving. And the second recommendation I have is to just record the information that you come across. Make a list. You'd be surprised how helpful a list can be. Imagine you watch 40 or 50 YouTube videos a day. I'm not saying writing every video title is going to be an exciting way to spend your time, but what I can say is that if you want to actualize your full potential and achieve your goals, and you're looking to start small when developing a writing habit, this is perhaps the best thing you can do. It's easy to make a list. The title titles are already there. I mean, if you're watching the videos anyway, this is just going to increase the probability that you can draw on the interesting parts that you come across throughout these videos. And obviously, I'll say briefly that there are some apps where this just doesn't really make sense. Like, you don't want to write down every tweet that comes across your timeline. But as far as, like, I think of YouTube, we're selecting videos. And to that end, because we have to make a decision about what content we see, I think the idea of using a list becomes a lot more appealing. We're making a choice of the content we watch, and then beyond that, we're also recording it. So it's kind of layered in a way that, you know, platforms like maybe, the first one that comes to mind is Twitter, but also I think like TikTok might not be as conducive. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully this ages well. I don't really know what the future of social media looks like. But anyways, moving on. So anyways, although making a list won't instantly help us recall everything we've come across throughout the day, it can help us contextualize the information we're consuming. And creating a physical list is going to function as a memory aid. And this is honestly the value of the written word as I see it. Its ability to assist our memory and our thinking process by making something tangible, by giving ideas physical form. I mean, it's easy to think that we're not giving form to something when we write it, but I really believe we are, like whether we're using a pencil or a pen, and I guess I am talking about handwriting. But I think to some extent the same thing is true whether, you know, it's written by hand or whether it's typed. We're kind of giving form to an idea using language or actually creating something. And I know this is something I've talked a lot about in other videos, so I won't drone on too much longer. But long story short, how can we improve the way in which we use social media? I think by carefully curating our timelines and developing a writing habit that can support our social media habits, or at least elevate our social media habits, or give us some value, some objective sort of value. That's what I tell my students, and that's what I'm telling you. But okay, for now, that is everything that I've got. If you liked any of this video, any of what you saw from the video useful or helpful or interesting, whatever positive word might fit your experience best, I ask that you please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And now I also want to thank you, my wonderful viewer, for sticking with me to the end. We want to thank you for giving some of your time and attention to this channel. We really appreciate it, and all we can say is thank you. We are a small channel, but all we need to grow is some sunlight and some water. And with that, I will bid you farewell. Thanks again, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you